Hey everybody, I am John Clark. Welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. The season is finally here. The Birds open their season against the Redskins. Remember 2 years ago, they beat Washington in the season opener, on their way to the first Super Bowl. Good omen. Let's start our show with a little tape study presented by Chickies and Pete's. Here's our own Ike Reese with Eagles VP of Player Personnel, Andy Weidl.
So joining us here for Eagles tape study presented by Chickies and Pete's is Eagles Vice President of Player Personnel, Andy Weidl. Andy, thanks for joining us here on the show. Man, your top 3 picks, very good young players, showed a lot of promise in the preseason. Want to take a little time to break them down and get into some of the traits that we see here on film in the preseason and how it translated from college to the pros. So let's take a look at first-round draft pick Andre Dillard going up against another top 10 pick in Josh Allen. Great to see these guys going at it in the preseason.
Yeah, this is a great barometer for Andre to go up against a guy who's a top 10 talent, top 10 pick. We saw here what Andre did in college, now at the Senior Bowl, and that's his quickness, his set, his ability to get depth, and then his hands and his punch. And the thing that he works on a lot with Coach Allen, we've been seeing, is the punch and the set and sitting back on guys and sitting down. And you saw his anchor really evolve over the last month and a half since we've had him here. And he has the quickness. He's got the foundation of the feet and the hands and the play tempo. But you see right here, putting it all together and really sitting down on a guy that was a premier pass rusher coming out of it.
I tell you the thing I noticed there, Andy, is that there's a calmness when he's in his pass protection. He doesn't overextend. He never seems to be out of position. He just allows that natural ability to take over.
You never saw him waistband, and I was in college. He was always controlled, and he would time his punch up and sit back on guys, and it's just become better and better since he's been there with Coach Stout and watching him go through this camp.
Yeah, let's take a look at second-round draft pick running back Miles Sanders out of Penn State. We already know about his ability with the ball in his hands, but one thing young running backs struggle with to make the adjustment into the NFL level is pass protection, and it's essential to have if you're going to play at this level.
No question. Most running backs coming out, it is something that they need work on. Just from a technique standpoint. But the main thing is the willingness. Are they willing to go up inside and stick their nose in there, put the face in the fan, and stone a guy? And you see right here, Miles comes up, boom, sits down, stones a linebacker coming through the A-gap. Really does a nice job answering the bell. The willingness is the main thing coming out of college. And then when you get with a coach like Deuce Staley, who just hammers it home, we do it in camp every day. You see them doing the backs on backers drill. Another thing that's evolved in Miles' game.
Yeah, again, you watch him here, and he has to recognize where these rushes are coming from, right? So people watch this. You got a free rusher coming here. You got a free rusher coming here. Young player may look at that and panic and go to the outside. But here you see Miles say, most dangerous man, steps up in that A-gap, does a nice job of letting Clayton get this ball off.
No doubt. He took the threat that was the guy coming home earlier, and he did a nice job in reading that, stepping up, and making this play happen.
Another guy a lot of Eagles fans are excited about is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, wide receiver out of Stanford. Now, we watch him down here in this red zone. We've heard Coach Peterson talk about his ability down here in the red zone. What are some of the things that you guys noticed at Stanford that he does well that you think are going to be able to translate here at the NFL level?
Well, it's the ability to win early, right here in his release off press coverage. You'll see him here get by, create leverage, sell the route, win at the top. Then you see him track, hands out at the end, and finish. And that's the thing that stood out with him, is his ball skills, the route running, the savviness, the ability to set corners up with his movement. This is just an example of what he did at Stanford.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing. A lot of young players, right? And not just because he went to Stanford and Miles went to Penn State and Andre went to Washington State, but these appear to me to be young, smart football players that understands in-game situations, and coaches have to be able to trust young players in order to put them out there early.
No doubt. They're high football IQ guys. They love the game. It's important to them. They come into work. And the maturity with these guys, when you get guys like this, they come in and they can hit the ground running. And we talk about it all the time, it's hard to win in this business. It's hard to win games, and you need guys like that. The maturity, the ability to learn, the ability to multi-align, and if they come in and they get going, they can assimilate real quick into the program and get in the field and do things like these guys are doing right here. So,
best thing I like about it, none of these guys are going to be pressed in the action. They have veterans in front of them that they're going to get a chance to learn from. They add great depth to a team that seems to be loaded at a lot of different positions.
They do, and I'll tell you what's great to see is we have veterans out there. Jason Peters, you see him working with Andre Dillard, passing down that wisdom to him. You see Darren Sproles working with Miles, passing along the wisdom. And then after practice, you see Alshon and Deshaun working with JJ on his release and the little things, and then he goes out and he applies it here in this game. And that's really a testament to the players and the type of people they are and how important the game is to these three young players.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local tri-state Toyota dealers, a proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Your boy is mic'd up.
Who is?
Me. Man, it's hot. Hopefully the clouds come back.
Set, go.
You good?
120!
Oh yeah, hang in there.
Love hearing Zach Ertz mic'd up there, and joining me now, the great Mike Quick. And when you look at the tight ends that Doug Peterson has here, Zach Ertz, no one has more catches ever at the tight end position in his first 6 seasons in the NFL.
Yep.
Then you've got Dallas Goedert. What do they each bring to the field?
They're just two talented tight ends, and it allows this offense, and Doug Peterson in particular, to do a lot of things. Zach Ertz does so many things. He can create a mismatch against linebackers. He'll create mismatches against safeties. And then Dallas Goedert, very similar. Inline blocking. You can match him up on the safety, he's going to win. Match him up on a linebacker, he's going to win. They do so many things. They allow so much versatility to this offense.
Yeah, and when Doug Peterson and the coaches can get those matchups, please show us here, when you're bringing those two tight ends into 12 personnel, how they're dictating what they want to do.
Well, this is exactly what they do. It's a two tight end set, as you mentioned. But what they're able to do here, because Carolina keeps in their base personnel, there are three linebackers on the field. They're able to work them with a play action pass. These linebackers, they're really stretched. They've got to be concerned about the play fake and the run game, but also the tight end getting over the top on an over route. So it's very stressful for, in this situation, the linebackers to cover these guys. It's that mismatch that they create. And you go back, and Carolina now will come with the nickel personnel. They don't have the three linebackers on the field. They want to make a lighter box this time. So with the lighter box, it really lends to running the football. And that's what the Eagles do. They run a trap play here. They're able to gash them in the run game. It's just a matter of who's on the field. They look at the matchup. If they've got a small group, a small box personnel, they're going to run the football at them. If they've got big personnel, their base personnel, it's easy to throw the ball over the top because you've got these versatile tight ends.
Enemy Intel is brought to you by Rothman Orthopedics at Jefferson Health, the official orthopedics and healthcare partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mike just showed you the importance and significance of the Eagles' 12 personnel package, two tight ends when they have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert on the field, and the problems it can cause generally. But I think it's really important now, week one, to take a look at how that impacts the Redskins defense. And the thing is we have a track record there. We have tape that shows you the impact of that. And if you go back to last year in the two matchups against the Washington Redskins, there were 37 snaps in which the Eagles lined up with two tight ends, Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. On 2/3 of those snaps, the Redskins lined up in their base 3-4 defense with two safeties on the field. Now, let's just look at who those two safeties will be this year before we go back and look at a play from last year. Those two safeties this year are both strong safeties, Landon Collins and Monte Nicholson. And the issue there is coverage, particularly when they play man-to-man, because you have Zach Ertz, one of the most refined route-running tight ends in the game, and Dallas Goedert, who has explosive intermediate and vertical ability. But it's not just Ertz and Goddard that pose problems when the Eagles line up with 12 personnel. And this will bring us to this specific play from a year ago. You're going to see Nelson Aguilar, who's lined up in a reduced split to the boundary side of the field. And remember, this is a two tight end offense. You've got Goddard and Ertz on the same side as Aguilar initially. Aguilar is going to shift across the formation, making it a twin set with two wide receivers to the field side and Goddard and Ertz remaining on the boundary side. So what happens here? The Redskins do not bring their corner, Fabian Moreau, over to play Nelson Aguilar, who's now in the slot to the field. What they do is they have a safety, and last year it was DJ Swearinger. He's lined up right over Aguilar. So it's not just the tight ends now that present an advantage in the passing game. It's a wide receiver, Aguilar, who's now matched on DJ Swearinger, a safety, a major advantage for the Eagles. So what happens here? Carson Wentz takes the snap. He moves out of the pocket to his right. Aguilar's running the deep over route. He easily runs away from the safety Swearinger, gets the ball down the field, beautiful throw, and it's a big gain in the pass game. So this speaks to the issues that the Redskins will face if they stay in their base personnel. Not only will they struggle to match up in man-to-man coverage versus Goddard and Ertz, but they will also struggle to match up versus the wide receivers depending on what coverage they play. But in this particular matchup, week 1 against the Redskins, I would look for the Eagles to line up in 12 personnel, a meaningful part of their offensive snaps.
All right, you've seen all the things the Eagles can do with their 12 personnel and the tight ends. And don't forget about Deshaun Jackson. In fact, when D-Jax left Washington, Eagles started to beat the Redskins again. 4-0 against Washington the last 2 years. But Carson Wentz needs time to get Deshaun Jackson the ball. How do they have to protect him against really a pretty darn good front seven?
It really boils down to the bigs. I think the small guys, they're going to win on the outside, but the big guys really have to win because if you look at the Redskins, they're best up front, and they've got a lot of talent. You talk about Deron Payne, you talk about Jonathan Allen, Ioannidis out of Temple University. There's so many guys that create a problem, and Ryan Kerrigan, he's been a thorn in the side of the Eagles for a long, long time, and that's where it all begins. If they're able to protect Carson Wentz, I'm pretty sure the guys on the outside, the skilled guys, they can win, but it's really up to the guys up front. If the offensive line can hold off the bigs of the Redskins, it will be a very good day for the Eagles offense.
Yeah, and Ryan Kerrigan, 11.5 sacks in 16 games against the Eagles, but Lane Johnson, he's hungry for these matchups. He studies these guys, and he studies Ryan Kerrigan.
Well, the teams know each other really well, and that's one thing that's important. Greg Minuski's defense is not going to be a surprise to the Eagles. They know what they like to do down there. Philosophically, they know what they're going to do. It's just a matter of recognizing, seeing, and then taking care of your individual responsibilities. That's going to be the key, and especially, as I said, in the trenches.
I want you to feel like you're on a perimeter play. The hips are open up on for speed, but our shoulders are still square. When we hit that final mark, try to get to the sidelines. I want you to always think about you're always working towards the line of scrimmage in the run game. Sink, dip, and rip. There you go. Gain leverage now on your approach. Hit on the rise. All right, finish on the ball carrier now. Finish with your hands above your eyes now, guys, right? It's the only way I know you're getting leverage on the blocker. If you can sink and try to get right in here, that's going to be somewhere between here and here on the ball carrier. That's where we want your target to be on the tackle, okay? All right, here we go. Set, go. There you go, okay? Make sure now, again, think about squaring them up, though. Now, listen, I know you got the sidelines, your advantage, but if you're making that angle tackle, right now we want to make sure we square our hips and accelerate up the field, okay? Here we go.
In this matchup, week 1 against the Washington Redskins, run defense will be absolutely critical for the Eagles defense. It's about staying in your gaps, playing with gap integrity, because Darius Geis, who I believe will likely get the bulk of the Redskins snaps, is an urgent, aggressive, intense runner. And he's very good in multiple run game concepts, whether it's the zone concept, whether it's a gap scheme concept. You're dealing with Geis, a physical, intense runner, also very good short area quickness and burst. What we're going to do is start with a zone run concept. This will be outside zone to the left side of the formation. And this is where Darius Geis is very, very good, because this is a run that's theoretically designed to stay outside. but here you're going to see his tremendous vision as he reads both his blocks and the flow of the defense. And here you'll notice that the two stacked linebackers for the Falcons really read the outside zone run action and flow very hard to the left side of the screen. So what does Geis do? He cuts it back outside of the right tackle Morgan Moses, and this is a nice sustaining run. It's not a big explosive play, but it's the kind of run that will be critical for the Redskins in this game against the Eagles, particularly with Case Keenum at quarterback. A stay-on-schedule run that keeps you in 2nd and 3, maybe 3rd and 2. Those kinds of runs will be absolutely critical in this game. So that was an outside zone run. Now, we also talked about the gap scheme concept. This will be a counter tray, and you're going to start on the right side of the Redskins offensive line with probably their two best offensive linemen, right tackle Morgan Moses and right guard Brandon Scherf. What they're going to do is they're going to pull from the right side of the offensive line across the formation to the left side. Now, Moses does a really good job with his block. Scherf just gets enough of the corner here to help clear the edge, but this is where Darius Geis is so good. He's physical, he has a strong lower body, you need to get him to the ground. He breaks the tackle, another sustaining run. These runs don't seem like they're real important when they happen, but they will be so critical for the Washington Redskins in this game. And you will see both the zone run game and the gap scheme run game. For the Redskins in this matchup against the Eagles, everything will start with running the football.
All right, we saw that Redskins running game. Last year, the Eagles outscored the Redskins 52-13. The only touchdown they scored all year was that Adrian Peterson 90-yarder.
Yeah.
Ike Reese, what do the Eagles have to do to stop the Redskins running game? Because you know they're going to bring it.
Right, well, like most running offensive teams, they want to get up to the second level and try to get to your linebackers and then let those running backs sort of pick their way through the hole. And the Eagles have done a nice job over the last couple of years of playing the run. And the Redskins are a very good run team. You know, you get these big guys double teaming down here. It's essential that the linebackers play downhill, get to your gaps there, because what that's going to allow you to do is help guys like Fletcher Cox. That'll be Malik Jackson this year. They don't want to have to fight these double teams for very long. I love the way the linebackers got down to here. Camus, Nate Gary there. You got Nigel Bradham there. They're in their lanes with their shoulders square to the line of scrimmage. And what that is going to allow, it's going to allow guys like Fletcher, Malik Jackson, and Tim Jernigan to play one-on-one against these Redskins offensive linemen. And I like our chances anytime our big defensive tackles are going up against the offensive line one-on-one. So to me, in order to be a good run defense, your linebackers have to play downhill. Your defensive line, they play on the other side of the line of scrimmage, but you have to be able to get those double teams off those defensive tackles of yours.
All right, now the tendencies of the Redskins offense, what are they going to do? One thing they're missing, Trent Williams, and then you have Eric Flowers playing next to him at guard, so that may be advantage Eagles there.
Yeah, this is an offense that the Eagles will be somewhat familiar with from a Redskins standpoint and then somewhat familiar with from former personnel standpoint. You brought up Eric Flowers. Eagles know him from the New York Giants days. Case Keenum as the quarterback there. We know when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. This is a team that's going to rely heavily on their tight ends in the passing game. They're going to want to run the ball with Darius Geis. Then they got a group of young wide receivers that are looking to make their name in this league. Paul Richardson, really the only veteran wide receiver, came over from Seattle a couple years ago. Then they have young players, first and second year guys that are trying to make their name. If they're going to throw the ball and beat you, it's going to be with their tight ends. We know about Jordan Reed. Sometimes he's available, sometimes he's not. Vernon Davis is a guy that can be productive still in this league. But for me, I think this Eagles defense, if they get this Redskins offense, second and long, third and long situations where it becomes predictable what the Redskins offense is going to do, that should bode well for us defensively because our defensive line is going to be able to get after that Redskins offense.
All right, you've got the game plan now. Slow down the Redskins running game. And on offense, the Eagles can use those two great tight ends with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, exploit some of those matchups over the middle. And hopefully it ends in a Birds W. You can catch the kickoff show on PhiladelphiaEagles.com at 12:30. And we'll be back next week, week 2 of Eagles Game Plan. Thanks for watching, everybody. Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, a proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it.